Thank you for spending your Thursday evening. Thank you, darling.
Yep.
Thank you for spending your Thursday evening with us. We know that your time is valuable, and we know how important it is when you engage with your health, how that changes you and how that changes us. Does Kathy, do you need a chair?
Here's one right here.
Okay.
Right here.
Nope, I'm just gonna right around.
Okay. So tonight you're going to learn. This is a mix between an intro and an advanced class. So there's going to be things that you hear. Intra advanced. So you're going to hear things you know. You're going to learn things you didn't know. So I'm super excited you guys are here. This is one of my favorite classes because if you haven't been to one of our classes, this gives you context for what you're experiencing here in our office and why what we do is different than what most people think about chiropractic care and why you're getting results and you're like, why is this really happening? Why do I have more energy? Why do I feel more alive? Why am I happier? It's because what we do increases your health. It just doesn't take you out of pain. And you're going to learn why tonight, which is super, super exciting. Also on Monday, February 5th, yours truly is teaching SRI stages 1 and 2. These match with the modules that we do. So this is my favorite class to teach. It's the only one I teach because it is my favorite and it gives you a baseline foundation for stages 1 and 2 and what SRI is and how it supports you in your care. I know people say, I've already done it. I don't need to come. Yes, you do, because you are a different person each time you do it. That's the idea. Like we don't stop eating broccoli. We don't stop going to the gym.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
You sell it like the baseline foundation. You give people the full meal deal experience of what that is in a way that the few little videos I send out could not even hope to do. So you make sure.
So come for the full experience. And without further ado, let's get this party started. Right. Thank you so much. Welcome.
You're good.
Matthew Mancuso.
Yay. I always feel like the music for the intro to the Muppet Show should come on whenever I walk. Everyone's got their own theme music. Apparently that would be mine. And so I'm really glad that you all are showing up. And for those in the Zoomiverse, thanks for being here. Because one of the things I've seen, part of it is the primary role of doctor is actually teacher. Is to help to educate people and beyond just fill their mind of wisdom, like fill their minds full of words, is to actually help give them a new context for what they're experiencing. To help them begin to build a relationship with their body, its emotions, and all of the things that's happening, to ensure that we're not always living in fear of this thing that we live in. We spend our entire lives in this thing, and yet most of us spend our lives either completely ignoring it, la, 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 or in fear of it. Oh God, I hope something goes wrong. And so to actually be able to help people develop a relationship with it in a way that is empowering to understand like how your body is trying to connect with you, communicate with you, and what's really going on is one of the most important things I can do. Because that way also you have a different context for the experience as opposed to I'm a kinder, gentler guy who just does all the same horse shit, pardon my language, but the same horse shit that you expect out there, which is, you see the drug ads where you take a pill, it magically just goes to the area of problems. Side effects may include spontaneous decapitation. I mean, if you actually listen, so there's more available for you. But that's also why I like to start everything I do with a disclaimer. And this is mine, which is, warning, the following presentation is of a transformative nature and will challenge the way you experience your body, your mind, your life. Exposure to network spinal chiropractic care, the voodoo we do, can elicit outrage at what you've accepted, tolerated, or settled for in your health. It can also elicit vitality, clarity, joy, excitement, exuberance, and profound awakening, which may therefore be harmful to the life you've been living. Because anything that is truly energized, alive, vibrant, is completely destabilizing to a world that says the highest outcome you should expect is to, well, just suck moderately less than yesterday. Where the highest outcome is, well, what is it? I'm fine, just fine, living the dream. Fine, just fine, living the dream. Not actually, holy cow, I'm alive, woohoo! But how you doing? Not bad. You get not bad is different than good, right? Like we have hopefully by this point in human experience discovered that fighting war hasn't created peace. Fighting drugs hasn't created sobriety. Fighting disease hasn't created health. We have multi-trillion-dollar industry that can invest a lot into try to help fight disease, and yet we look at the health of our citizens. We are the sickest we've ever been in the United States, for FYI. Our health ranks, it used to be 72nd out of 191 nations, but as of 2 years ago, we are now 74th. We went down, but we spend more than anyone. 50% more than the second one down the line, which is Great Britain. We are pouring a lot of money into making sure that we, don't suck, but we seem to suck at that. It's not really a problem of the techniques being used, FYI. The techniques being used are amazing for trauma care. If you actually had your arm ripped off, were hit by a car, eaten by bears, etc., the strategies being used are amazing for that. The US of A ranks #1 at trauma care. We just use the same system for literally everything else. So I'd like to suggest that maybe there's something more available than just and paying more for it too. Ultimately, you do have options. There are choices when it comes to health. There is always more available to you. One of the gifts I've seen over the past nearly 2 decades of taking care of people is that I've cared for people at early life, beginning of life, like when they're in preconception care, taking care of women before they're actually getting pregnant to make sure they have the best pregnancy. And also on the flip side of things, like from that to the newborns to also those who are at end of life care, but wanting to have the highest quality of life. Not just to numb out and fade out of this world, but to actually have the best quality of life they can with the years and the days they have left. And what I've seen on that is no matter where someone's at on the spectrum, there is always more available for them. There's always something that is available that can help them to have a better experience of their lives, be able to do more in their lives, to be better at their lives. No matter what their socioeconomic background, no matter what their genetics, you can care for people who have the most jacked up socioeconomic backgrounds, most jacked up genetics, most jacked up family stories, and there's still room for them to be better if you work with something in them that already works. And that's why I'm going to pose a question to y'all. What if pain was actually the solution to your problem? Goes against literally everything we've been sold, which is, pain is a stupid thing that we're just supposed to make go away, right? If you have any kind of pain, and pain, just FYI, according to my definition, pain is any uncomfortable experience that disturbs your normal daily grind. Anything that shakes you loose and wakes you up and you can't just keep doing what you've always done. It stops you. It stops you from doing something that you love. It stops you from feeling a certain way. It stops you from being able to be a certain way. And that pain, none of us enjoy it. That's why we spend multi-trillion dollars on all these different things to help try to mute it all. Whether it's the painkillers, which, heard of the opiate epidemic? Yeah, that didn't go well. So now we have a lot of new creative ways of going about it, repurposing other drugs off-label to try to kill pain. They're having other weird side effects. Or what about the anti-anxiety drugs, which they found are great short-term, for a period of 30 days to maybe 3 months, but beyond that, have decreasing effect and actually create a system where the brain is auto-addicted, where it can no longer actually regulate its own system, so it has to keep up leveling. Or the antidepressants, similar thing. All of the different things we put out there, the antis, the killers, to try to actually stop the experiences that we don't enjoy, might actually be part of the problem when they're used as a complete lifestyle choice. Why? Because pain is not dumb. Nothing that shakes loose your life is dumb. If you're in a horrible relationship, should you be miserable? Yeah. Why?
Not getting out.
Yeah, because it's saying, hey, get the hell out of here. If your hand's on a hot stove, should you take a Vicodin or gabapentin? Should you maybe get that structurally adjusted, manipulated, massaged? Yep, dry needling maybe, put some acupuncture stuff in there, do some Reiki, pray on it. Should you do any of that if your hand's on a hot stove? No, what should you do? Move your freaking hand. What would have been even more intelligent would have been feeling the heat coming off the stove as you approach it, to actually be in relationship to your body and feeling, oh, that's going to go badly. Even more intelligent would have been to see from across the room, hey, the light on that's on, it's glowing red. I'm not going to mess it. I'm going to turn it off and wait till it cools. All of these would be more from being in relationship to the system itself, to ensure you're not just killing the messenger. You're actually getting the message and making the necessary changes. We have become addicted to the status quo of things being exactly as they are, staying in hell. because we don't want to actually shake it loose and do anything new. I'm suggesting that's part of why, well, we're sick. We've all seen the meme. If you haven't, I'm not sure what rock you've lived under, but bless you. Dog in a house on fire. But this is fine. This is fine. Everything is fine. I'm totally okay with all this. Enough of this. I would rather suggest this option. This is not fine! Pain is a wake-up call! It's like, holy crap! Everything's actually on fire! And what the hell is my problem? We're sitting inside this burning house! Enough! Get me out of here! It's all intelligent! It's trying to shake you loose like a fire alarm! It's all just an alarm signal saying, hey! Now, if you are laying in bed and the fire alarm goes off and you wake up and pull the battery out of the fire alarm, I know we've done it, but fact is, if you didn't check for smoke or fire first, what are you called? Crispy.
Okay.
Crispy. We get this. But sometimes then when it comes to this particular magical meat suit, this body of ours, we forget this. All of it, no matter what the alarm. Attention span disorders. Anyone know someone with an attention span challenge? Yeah. What about people who are extra impulsive? Easily distracted. Squirrel. Disorganized, depressed, lacking motivation, poor concentration, the list goes on. These are all just cries from the system saying something's got to change. It's not saying put more stimulants in an already freaked out nerve system. It's saying, holy crap, there's something off. Pain is always saying pay attention, but we never like to listen to what it says because it means we have to look at our lives. Do you get your body doesn't just reflect a chemical disorder within, it actually reflects three main categories. Physical stuff, your body itself. Second one, emotional stuff, what's actually happening in your emotional state and your mental experience. Thirdly, social stuff, your relationships. The studies on chronic back pain showed zero correlation actually with disc herniation or muscle dysfunction and the pain itself. There was a meta-study of over 50 different studies, it was about 53 studies, looking for what's the actual common link to it. And they found it had 0% correlation with the degeneration in your bones. I know I'm a chiropractor saying this, and I'm here to let you know, whoopsies. Why? Because they found other people who had the same jacked up bones, the same jacked up muscles, and no symptoms at all. They found people, 56% of teenagers have asymptomatic disc herniations. But we like to say, oh, it's the disc. It's not the disc. Also, a bunch of people who have the same symptoms, but none of that stuff on the x-rays and MRIs. Holy cow! It's not actually that you have a faulty system that needs to have a chainsaw taken to it. What the heck could be going on? In this meta-study, they actually had to cross the campus. Now, people in the hard sciences hate going over to the soft science section. It's like they expect that the people in social sciences and psychology have like chickens and rabbits and stuff, But the fact is, when they crossed over there, they found 85% correlation, which means statistically significant for these three simple factors when it came to chronic back pain. Financial stress, job stress, relationship stress. It wasn't the meat itself, it was the stress of their lives and how that actually has a bigger impact on the body than anything off kilter in your magical meat suit. We are a body mind. Our body is always intelligent. Now, sometimes the body can get stuck in a pattern, and that's part of a challenge, but it's very rarely the bone or even the muscle. See, when you step in a dog's tail, the bark comes out of the mouth. We've been treating with all these other things before. We have a million ways to treat all these different symptoms, right? A million ways to treat them, and yet we are spending more and healthy less than anyone because the symptom itself isn't the problem. It's the process behind the problem. You step on the dog's tail, the bark comes out of the mouth. Treating the mouth is never going to change the bark. I know, I've tried to hold Daisy's mouth shut a lot. She is a noisy little wench. And yet, what she really wants, as you can see back there, all she's really wanting when she's barking is to be loved, is to be held. All of us, this body of ours, when these challenges, physical, mental, emotional, or social are coming up, it is a cry for love in some way. Now, it shows up differently for each human, but it's truly a cry for something beyond just shut it up and squeeze it back into the same old box. And say, like, people walk into my office with a headache, I adjust them. They walk out of my office, bang their head on a wall, get a headache again, and come back in. Is that a me problem? Did I miss something? Fair enough. Might be an eye problem, they didn't see it. Multiple back.
Find their way out.
Or they didn't sit and drink the tea first.
Options. And this is why I say all of this just to say, when it comes to my profession, there's different directions we go. And obviously from what I'm saying, I'm not part of the musculoskeletal camp of the just looking at bones and muscles. Now, bones and muscles are useful. How many of you have them? If your hand isn't up, I'm concerned about you. It means you don't have bones or muscles, that's right. Or a brain to listen, but that's a different conversation. Bones and muscles are wonderful. I do highly recommend them because they are an amazing structural subsystem. But question, is a bone smart? Does it ever move on its own? So how could just a disc slip or a bone go out of place? It can't. It would be like asking this little stuffed macrame little Grogu up here to move itself. It won't. If it did, I'd be horrified. But it would also be like asking a building to build itself. It can't. It's all just a bunch of cinder blocks and like 2x4s and such. Bones are wonderful, but they're not intelligent. They can't be a primary problem. See, I'm of the mindset at this point in my life, I'm tired of managing secondary stuff. I want to get to what's the root of things. What is it that actually is the primary stuff that can organize the most? And bones are wonderful and it's necessary to have them, but they don't move themselves. So what moves your bones? Muscles! Muscles and tendons that attach the muscles to the bone, which is wonderful. In fact, how many of you know the spine got its name because it's really short for spinous processes, the pointy things that stick off. Spinous processes, transverse processes. See, if you say it in Latin, you can charge more. Spinous process, pointy thing, which is where the muscles attach. And when the muscles attach, they're like levers, they can move it through space, which is wonderful. They said, why is calling someone a meathead not a compliment? Because muscles aren't smart either. They don't move themselves. They don't spasm themselves, they don't contract themselves. There's only one muscle in your whole body that actually tries to contract on its own, but it's got the rhythm of, we'll just say, a spastic heteronormative 12-year-old male. The heart. Even it needs organization from something else. It needs a boss telling it what to do. So the muscle ain't primary. It's important to take care of, but it's not the primary thing. What tells your muscles what to do? Say that loud and proud.
Your brain.
Your freaking brain. You've got a brain in your skull. Send signals down through that magical meat suit, through those bones, through those muscles, out to every cell of your body, out to every single little part of you. Do you know each cell of your body? How many cells do you have? Lots. Good talk. No. 70 to 100 trillion is the current average. Yeah. National debt level cells. Yep. That's a lot in there. And each one of them is theorized to have between 3 to 9 nerve endings physically connecting into it, like a little spider web wrapped in, sending signals to the brain as to what's going on in that cell, and also sending signals from the brain to the cell, helping it to organize. There's no body-mind connection because they're never separate. They are all completely physiologically hardwired. And so that's why as a chiropractor, my wing of the profession focuses more on that. Because, okay, if the brain fires different, will the muscles fire different? By this point, if you're not nodding, it means I've missed something. Okay, cool. And if the muscles fire different, will the bones move different? Yes. Oh, if your brain works different, what else will work different? Beyond bones. This is your brain. I will Nancy Reagan this. This is your brain. This is your brain. Okay, cool. Your nervous system is all through that. Yeah. What else? What does your nervous system run? Think about it for a second.
Spinal cord.
No, let's get beyond structure. You're sitting in a room listening to me. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
This is a product of your nervous system even working, of your brain working. You can hear, senses, vision. Yeah. Yeah, your ability to handle stress. How about ever connected with another human being? How do you even respond and relate to them? Through this thing. This is the nature of the beast. We literally live our lives through this. If I took out your brain, what in you would work? Anything?
No,
Would your emotions work?
no,
Would your thoughts work?
no,
Would your memory work?
no,
Would you able to do your job?
no.
Sometimes, but you
Right.
know. Would you be able to actually connect to and relate to another?
No.
Cool. Could you pet a dog?
No.
No, it is the single most important organ of your body.
Right.
So I'd rather work with the thing under your hat than the thing just in your back. Because that's also the thing that initiates healing of any kind. This is actually from one of the deans of the Harvard Medical College. See, I ain't anti any profession. I'm pro any profession that actually has some sanity. And one of the deans of the Harvard Medical College put this pretty straightforward. The wisdom of the body is responsible for 90% of the hope of the patient to recover. Your body is smart. The body has a super wisdom that's in favor of life rather than death. It wants more. This is the power that we depend on for life. And all doctors are responsible for letting their patients know of this great force working within them. How many of your doctors have told you about that before?
No.
Exactly. Something has been missing. This is why I've been talking about the brain and the nerve system up to this point, because that is the force that actually controls and coordinates. Basic anatomy, what we learned early in school from Grey's Anatomy, not the show. Anyone out there seen the show? Okay, the jokes don't get better. So here we are. But the whole purpose of that is to control and coordinate the function of all of you, all your cells, 70 to 100 trillion, all your tissues, digestive tissues, skin tissue, heart tissue, butt tissue, whatever, well, maybe not that kind of tissue. And your organs, and help the organism adapt to its environment, aka handle stress. Single most important organ of your body. Literally, when I said it connects from your brain down to every cell, this is the inner you. This is looking at a brain, spinal cord, which you know the difference between brain tissue and spinal cord tissue? Location, location, location. It's the same tissue. It should be called the brainal cord. And then all of that branches off from the spine down to every cell of your body. Now, what makes those nerve tissues different from brain tissue? Location, location, location. It's all the same thing. Every cell in you is thinking. And so that is what we're adjusting. Why? Because as I mentioned, it's what runs your bones. Yay, bones, we love them. It also is what runs your muscles. Yay, muscles, who likes exercise? I do. I love kettlebells and all that stuff, and I would kill myself with a kettlebell if I couldn't actually coordinate it. What else does it run? Oh, all your senses, like we mentioned. Sight, hearing, taste, touch, smell, stuff. What else does it run? Oh, that heart of yours allows it to continue to go. I find it unfortunate we measure death by heart, like the heart stopping rather than brain cessation.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of things I think we're missing. Oh, also every other organ, like I mentioned. Cool. Also, your ability to think. Yay, thoughts. Yay. Who here likes thinking? Who here just can't stop thinking no matter what anyway? Hi, my name is Matthew. I'm a thinkaholic. So we say, hi, Matthew. Welcome. Okay. Also, beyond that, every emotion. This is looking actually at a body map of how your body will express sensation for each of the different emotions that you experience. This is actually, it was on NPR in the way back, but it was just so cool looking at how every emotion is actually a physiological experience. They found that it's not mind, emotion, like brain itself, the head does not generate emotion, but actually the physiology, your body generates that emotional chemistry. I do a whole workshop on your body and emotions. I have to stay on target so you all can go home tonight, though. Yes. Before I was like, yes, please. I like home. Here's nice, but I like home more. Also, that nervous system of yours runs your ability to handle stress. It's like a particular force field in a way. It's what, when new stuff happens, we're better able to resist what occurs. Ever found like when you're on a low energy day, it's harder to handle stress than when you're on a higher energy day? Yeah, your system's less resilient. It can't really organize to handle that. On the flip side, you ever found like on a higher energy day, you naturally just feel more upbeat no matter what happens? You're like, the world's on fire. You're like, okay, I'll find a way. This is the nature of that system. It's designed to do that. And ultimately, that allows us to connect with other people. So as you're walking around doing your thing, you can connect to and sense others. You can have those clear boundaries and also feel them. We've been learning like, oh, what is it? Being an empath is some kind of wound. I'm like, no, we all have empathy. We're supposed to actually feel each other. We're supposed to naturally be able to feel each other. It's the sixth sense. You know, when this system's healthy, we can feel it and not get attached to it. If you see a sunset, do your eyes get attached to it or does it move on? So too with empathy. You feel something and it moves on. It's just often what we feel in others, it triggers something we don't like in ourselves. And again, we go back to that enculturation of it's uncomfortable, make it stop. As opposed to, wow, every emotion is actually useful. Sometimes you need anger to say freaking no. Sometimes you just need fear to say, I'm not going in that alley. I'm gonna get, that's bad. You need the whole range. And so, yeah, that's why I'd work with that system. So my question then from a health perspective is, then what goes wrong with it? Why isn't it perfectly healthy all the time? Why do you suppose we all don't have perfectly wonderful brains and nerve systems? Why do you suppose we're all not just like gallivanting around, living life, tiptoeing through the tulips, or playing in the rain? What happens, do you think? Say that loud and proud. Okay, now what part of life? The yummy parts? Is that what does it? There's too much good and it just blows the fuse?
I'm sure.
No! What part of life? Because it's not the entirety of life. The gross shit. Well put. We would call it the 3 T's. Trauma, toxins, thoughts. Trauma, physical stuff. Anyone ever been hit by a car? Played football? Rugby? Are your hands all dead? Okay, cool. Played any sport? Cool. All right. Ever sat for longer than an hour at a time? If your hand isn't up, you are not in America. Yeah. They actually found prolonged sitting is worse for the body than smoking. It has that much more like physiological damage. We were not built to be still. We're not Homo Zumus, designed to thank you. or Homo Scrollus either. You know, Homo sapiens, we were designed to be in motion. And instead, we are very still a lot. Also, just the posture we're in on a phone is one of the absolute worst physical structures you can actually, one of the most worst physical things you can do to your body. Because that spinal cord, that brachial cord we mentioned, it physically attaches in the neck of the pelvis. It's supposed to actually have 2 to 3 inches of wiggle room where it floats in the cord. Now, it's just, if it gets pulled like this, it pulls all of the slack out, which is no bueno. And that's also then where all any little pointy bits you might have going on in the spine will also then push it right up into that. No bueno. Oh, and then beyond that, it actually is supposed to have a blood supply, you know, get nutrition, you know, so it can actually live. All those blood vessels are on the front of those bones, of that spinal cord. When you pull it forward like that, you not only press it up against the bones, but you also stretch the blood vessels so it doesn't get proper blood supply. So you're slowly starving your brain from within. Now, if you're doing that, do you think your brain is going to be in its highest, like, oh, wisdom, discernment, compassion, love mode? Or is it going to go more into a stress, hypervigilant, depressed, or anxious mode? It's going to go into that kind of sick mode. And then you're in that position while you're engaging with other humans. Do you think that's going to put out positive, good juju on the Twitter or the X or whatever the hell that is now? Yeah! Your inner Karen comes out.
Sorry.
It's not friendly. In the social colloquial version of Karen, not the actual nice Karen. Yes. Yeah, so part of it is that. Physical stuff happens to us. Secondly, oh, by the way, who's been born? Cool. Fun fact. This whole walking on 2 legs thing, really useful. Every female body had to make some sort of, compromises to do so. So that's why being born is so intensely challenging for humans. And to the fact that it was a journal of physiotherapy and then a follow-up one in the journal of neuroscience found between 80 to 90, depending on the population, 80 to 90% of newborns have a structural shift of the upper vertebra, of the top vertebra, which that's the one where the brain comes out and talks to the body. So there's a slight imbalance up there, changing communication between brain and body right from birth. And then, kids then get all these ear infections and we think that's normal. They get this colic and think it's normal. As opposed to, that's why I take care of a lot of like newborns and like young munchkins, because it's not normal. It's just, we're still figuring how this whole like body thing works.
It doesn't matter how they get born?
No, because if you don't come out vaginally, you need all the squeezing to actually stimulate the nerve system into awakeness. And so you don't get the same like cranial nerve response and vagus nerve response. And so it's a different set of dysfunctions. Apparently, this human thing is physically challenging. We should all have been pugs. Oh wait, they have a harder time giving birth too.
Right.
We had, sidetrack for a second. Pugs were wolves once.
Yeah.
What have we done? Okay, all right. made it cuter, but it can't even give birth anymore. Now pugs need C-sections. This kind of comes full circle to your thing.
Oh my gosh.
So, it's not all evolution. Some of it is a mess.
We didn't.
Second one of the T's is toxins. Chemical stuff that happens. Short version, who's had Taco Bell ever? Anything from a drive-through.
Right.
Cool. Chemical stress. Add on top of that. Uh-huh. Actually, not so much
That is
fat.
good.
It's the fact that they also will have a lot of preservatives in there, which are horrible for the human body. Also, a lot of artificial colors, which are horrible for the human body. Also, high fructose corn syrup, which has been rebranded as corn sugar and other stuff, but it's still horribly toxic for the human body. And I think over 38% of it has high concentrations of mercury in it. Which do you think mercury is good for a brain?
Wow.
Anyone remember the Mad Hatter?
Yeah.
That was his
Yeah.
thing. So, anyway. Oh, beyond that, tap water. Cool.
Yeah.
14 different drugs in the Columbus tap water alone. Because we pour all of our
No wonder.
our pharmaceuticals down the drain, but they can't filter it all out when it gets to the plant, and so some of it ends up in the supply again. Highest concentrations are birth control, adding more estrogen into the mix, and progesterone. Also antibiotics, and also antidepressants.
Wait, people flush them
No
or we
wonder I
flush them and that's how they get it?
Combo package. People flush things down the drain thinking that's how you get rid of it, or they flush it,
body
it comes
waste.
out of your body.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. They
Also
take-
caffeine. So we don't need Prozac or Starbucks anymore.
Oh, no.
Is there a follow-up to this with recommendations? No tap water.
Longer conversation, actually. And that would be more of a, there are actually some good things. It's just, what I'm getting at is there's a lot of stresses in the environment.
So I'm paying all this money for these drugs and I'm getting them free.
Pretty much.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hey,
Oh, do you know,
Just
speaking of that, do you know who's on more than like 5 to 7 different prescriptions,
Yeah.
including over-the-counter stuff? Polypharmacy. Do you know what polypharmacy is? It's where the drugs start interacting in ways that they can't actually predict by science. So if they tell you, oh yeah, but I still have to put you on this, they have no evidence backing that up at that point because they don't know what it'll actually do. And that's why the side effects keep going higher. But you know, the Medicare age in our country is basically just we are just selling them to different drug companies as opposed to looking what's actually good for you. Which makes me sad. Because there's actually some useful stuff. It's just we have to actually think. And also look at what's the actual physiology doing. I'm sorry, this is gonna be the peak of depression. I know, it gets better after this.
Oh, we get marketed too.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, we are one of the rare countries where the drug companies can market directly to us.
Yeah.
And then directly to the doctors, as opposed to like,
You really need
Right,
this.
exactly.
Are you
Yeah.
feeling this way?
and so those are two things that could also build up and throw off this little nervous system of ours. But wait, there's one more. Mental emotional stress. Now I know we're Midwesterners, so we're fine. We're fine. Just fine.
Sure.
Everything's fine.
Yes.
But other people experience this. Isn't that weird? Now, there hasn't been any of that over the past few years, right? No mental emotional stress at all. Been easy. I mean, the 2020s have been the best decades. Roaring 20s, right? And then all that weird like pandemonium stuff ends, and they just kind of throw us back out there. We're like, oh, we're all fine. Everything's fine now. Just go on. We're the walking wounded right now. We're just like, we've seen things.
Right.
It's been crazy on all sides of the perspectives. It's just, add on top of it, every other bit, family, like global stress, etc. Now, question, which one of these do you think actually has the biggest impact on the health of the nervous system?
Thoughts.
Everyone said it straight up, yeah, 85%. According to research from the NIH, National Institute of Health, and the Center for Disease Control, 85% of the chronic diseases people have are from how the body handles this. And it's not just something you can just mentally just like push yourself through, like this mental resilience. I'm fine. This is great. I'm fine. We're fine. You know, the classic male pattern in the Midwest, which is why we die younger of heart attacks. Clearly it's working. No, there's got to be some different ways to navigate this. Because as all of it happens, most of it just kind of accumulates. Usually it's not actually the one big thing that pushes us over the edge. Our body's actually really good at handling the big stuff. The big physical stuff, it's actually really good at learning how to like wiggle around it and bounce back. A massive chemical thing, yeah, we can bounce back from, like an exposure to that. The major like mental emotional stuff, like if it's a one-off event, We may not enjoy it, but there's post-traumatic growth afterwards. It's when it's the death by 1,000 cuts. It's all the little stuff that builds up, builds up, builds up. I'm fine. It's good. That's the stuff that conditions your little nervous system here to get stuck in that fight, flight, like survival response. That gets it stuck in that mode where instead of that full, like, just so we say, that flow of life-giving like juice to get from your brain down to your body and body back to the brain, where it's able to actually fully express like that signal for health, there get to be some kinks in the hoses along the way. It gets a little messed up. It gets a little jaded, dysfunctional, hyperreactive, painful. It's no one's fault. 2% of the system is rational. 2% of your brain is what you think with. And you're like, well, I should be able to get more. No, do you want to tell your liver what to do? Anyone that level of control freak wants to tell their immune system exactly what to do each moment? How to shift your digestive system at every little track that, you know, the food goes through it and to modify for each thing? No one's that level of control freak. You'd be dead. No, that's what that other 98% is running. But it doesn't care what you think. It cares more about, okay, how am I handling all these different stressors? And am I able to actually bounce back from it and grow from it, post-traumatic growth? Or am I actually getting overloaded by it, post-traumatic stress? And so it builds up when it can't fully resolve in the brain, the spinal cord, in the muscles and organs, and in the vertebra, ligaments, discs. And the more stress you kind of build up, it's kind of like you had 100% energy available, right? Everyone's got 100% in their tank. But if you have 10% that's still processing some weird stuff that happened before, how much is now available in your tank? 90. And then new stuff happens because you only had 90% to then handle life. And so you don't quite have a full tank. So you're doing all right. Oh, more extra stuff happens. You can't quite adapt. Shit, now there's another 10% bound up. So now you got 80% going through life. And do you think it just like goes away over time? Or do you think it actually keeps building? We like to pretend it just goes away over time. It doesn't. We disconnect from it over time. We numb out. Because that's a survival strategy of the brain. When there's the unrelenting stressors, it starts checking out. See, if you're in a room with a mountain lion, we were built for simple times. You know, you're in a room with a mountain lion, your body's supposed to either go, get me out of here, or, all right. Either way, within 3 to 7 minutes, that should be done. Maximum level response, 90 minutes. Wonder why soccer games go for that time? It's at maximum amount for that all in. After that, though, it don't know what to do. So it just gets stuck in this weird adaptation. It starts breaking down. Eventually, if the lion's been in the room with you for 3 years, well, that's Fred. He only gnaws on my leg on alternate Wednesdays. You know, if I just stay up here the whole time, usually he leaves me alone. We adapt. Until eventually you're like, lion, what lion? There's just always this weird gnawing pain in my leg. That's what all this stuff is. This list of symptoms up here that I put up earlier, these are specifically the symptoms that are classically side effects to a nerve system that's on overload. A nerve system that can no longer adapt and function properly. These are specifically the secondary conditions that show up when that's the primary thing happening. These are all the one on the big little, the thing in the lobby. But looking at the different states of the nerve system, whether it's the over-aroused, hyper-vigilant, whether it's the under-aroused where it just can't get energy going anymore, or the more, shall we say, chaotic version, which is like, let's try something new each time. These are the classic secondary symptoms that show up from that. See anyone you know? They ain't broke. They're just stuck. Instead of just managing this stuff, how about we actually get to the root of the thing? Because once we can actually get to the root of it, there's a difference between managing and healing. Do you get that? Fundamental difference. Management is like hospice care. You assume it's never going to change. In fact, it's all just going to go away eventually. And so you just make it comfortable as they go through the downward spiral. Right. Healing is actually about resolving the underlying thing so a person becomes more whole and can reclaim all of that which has been bound up, reclaim those little bits from that 70% to 80 to 90 back to 100 again. So they can actually be living in that full expression of where they're at. It's a different direction. It's not something people assume anymore. Because we tend to assume when it comes to our health, once you lost it, right? And that's just how life is. Enough of that. There's got to be something more. That's why my job is easy. See what actually is blocking the freaking system, set it free, and then more importantly, upgrade things So the next time the stress happens, your body doesn't go back down the same rabbit hole. So you can drink from the tap and not die. You can have some Taco Bell. Bless you. You know, if you love those, go for it to a certain level. And if you notice, the gift of this is the healthier you get, the more you'll start noticing when the stuff you're doing is working for you or not. So that way you can be like, a little bit is good to challenge the system. When you go beyond the challenge level, you're like, oh no, I should never eat Taco Bell again. So this is why in our office, we actually have a series of examinations to see if this is actually happening. There's a lot of things out there in the world right now that nervous system is like one of the new, like, woo, we can sell something on that. Dude, we've been talking this since I've been in practice, like for about 20 years now. This is what we do. Oh, chiropractic has been talking about it like as a core profession for a while. And then we just sort of lost our way when we got insurance money. Because they would only give it to us for musculoskeletal. We're a profession that got its licensure from its results in the 1918-1919 flu epidemics. Yeah, the results there what allowed us to finally get licensed. Yeah, people don't talk about that as much. Because, exactly. But literally, when you're adjusting the spine as a way to affect the nerve system itself, the immune system can function at a more optimal level. It's just the way we're wired. This is how we work. But you know, that's why I measure to see. Because if someone comes here, I don't just want to assume I can help. I want to see, can I actually help? Because there's a lot of great things out there. I want to make sure people are getting the right stuff at the right time. But the key is finding what do you measure that'll actually tell you how to help. This is something that came out of some medical folks. There were these two medical docs in the late 90s, Doctors Wilson and Cleary. And they were trying to find out what is the most impactful stuff in medicine. Not just like the drugs, but what thing, when we target that in a person, helps them get the best results. Do you think that doctors should want to know that? Yeah. That what interventions, what style of intervention is going to give the best results? So they looked on one side, okay, is it just by getting the metrics? You know, getting your numbers just right? Getting your blood sugar exactly right? Getting your blood pressure exactly right? Is it about getting the numbers together? Is it instead by focusing on the symptoms? Actually go, okay, what symptoms are going on and treating the symptom? Is it instead about function? Should we actually be seeing about are people actually functional, able to live life the way they desire and everything is functioning the way it's supposed to? Is it instead about their perception of it? You know, it's yes, I know you have all this going on. How do you feel about it? The experience they have. Because you know people can have the same condition but totally different perceptions. One friend I knew was diagnosed with cancer and it was the end of her world. She said, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. Understandably, I mean, cancer is no fun. Other friend, and this was back when I was in chiro school. You know, I learned to feel what like stage 4 non-Hodgkin's like lymphoma feels like because my friend Joy developed it while we were in chiro school. There was a whole litany of like those 3 T's that led to it. But she developed that. Now, when Joy had that, what was her mindset? What was her perception? This is a freaking wake-up call? No. I have too much to live for. Whatever it takes, I am finding a way forward. Guess who survived? Joy. Guess who went beyond survived? Joy. She found whatever strategy. She took the best of medicine, the best of the alternative, aka vitalistic. But it was because she had that absolute sense of, I know what I'm going towards, and my life is too important for any weird condition to get in the way of it. So of course, she not only survived, she's kicking ass. And even though all the treatments then destroyed her uterus, she was still like, oh, I'm not letting that get in the way. And she still found a way to have 2 kids. Because no one tells her what she can't do. I'm drawn to people like that in my life, if you haven't met my wife up front. So is it perception? Like headspace, that's 2%. It's not the biggest thing, but it helps. It punches above its weight class. Or is it about quality of life? Really getting a sense of what is the kind of life the person wanted to live and giving them care that helped with that. Now, who wants to know what the least impactful thing of all those parts were that they found when it came to taking care of someone? Just getting all the metrics right. You know how everyone obsesses on making sure you have exactly the 120/80, and even that's pre-hypertensive right now. You got to make sure the blood pressure is below that. Make sure your blood sugar is exactly at a certain level, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Least impactful on people's health. The least. Heck, focusing just on the symptoms was more impactful than doing that. Holy crap, they thought, oh, well, we have a new evidence-based like model. Yeah, it's evidently not working. Crap, we need better evidence. You know, maybe a better question to find evidence for. So, what they found better than symptoms is actually focusing on function, ensuring that the system actually functions the best that it can with how it's designed. This is part of why the examination process in this office is actually looking at neural function. Whatever your symptoms are, we have gathered that the symptom itself is only pointing towards that there is a problem. Treating the symptom doesn't correct the problem. What is the actual function? What's the process behind the problem? Even more impactful than that, there's a reason they're in this order, was the perception that people had, the meaning that they gave to it. What is their experience of it? And this is why we have the series of different exercises here, and they're not just ways to make sure you can breathe and treat yourself. They're actually 12 stages of healing, looking at different ways, different relationships to what's up in your body. And so that no matter what's happening, you're able to actually connect to and move through it. So when you have the days that you feel craptastic, the total stage 1 experience, this sucks, I hate it. Cool. Knowing where you're at, how can you actually move through it more effectively so you can become healthier because of that? Or on the flip side, where it goes beyond. This is why, and that's also why at the day 1 where we're getting to know you, we're asking more than just where does it hurt? The onset, the palliative, provocative, what's the quality of the pain, aching, jolting, stabbing, etc. No, instead we want to get a sense of what's the quality of life you're looking for. That's why we ask the questions like, if we had a magic wand and all of this could change, what would replace it? Or just the other questions we have to get to know, like, what is it you really desire? So we can help to tailor a care plan to support you to get there. Cool side effects, as you focus higher up on that, more of this stuff down here changes or becomes irrelevant. And so that's why we do what we do. That's the whole process behind it. We don't want to just be another kinder, gentler way of getting you into the same crappy place that the health of the rest of the people are. We want to actually get in there and see, how do we help you be at your best, to feel at your best, and to live at your best. Side effects of that include health. Because most people don't realize health is not a state of, numb desperation, rotting slower than your friends. Health is actually defined as a state of physical, mental, and social well-being, which is all this kind of stuff. And that was the World Health Organization who came up with that one. So how about we actually find kind of healthcare that supports you on getting that kind of outcome? That's the whole foundation behind what we do. That's really, at the end of the day, the why. Everything we do on the table, everything we do like to assess is purely just looking from this level. I mean, quick geek moment. That's why it's like when we're taking care of you, like there's all these different styles, like just in how we're assessing, different styles of adjusting that are still so gentle that help to cue whatever system in you is actually needing to function better. Whether it's the part that actually allows your body to just relax and breathe again so it can function. Whether it's to make sure that it can actually move and engage with changing times and shake off the stress. Whether it's the part that actually helps to buffer you against new stress. Whether it's actually needing to work with you in a way that helps you to go beyond the stress. Or even to start cultivating higher quality of life. Multiple styles of adjusting, multiple styles of working with you tailored to that. Am I just really good at assessing it quickly now? Yes. That's why they let me travel around teaching other doctors and stuff. But at the end of the day, it's like when I'm at the table, as soon as I'm checking you, I'm looking at all these different things and looking for what's the one place to intervene that will get your brain and your nerve system able to do more of that from the inside. Because the highest outcome to me is that not only are you better, but your system learned how it got better. So it can, that 98% of it, that's not your thoughts, that it's learned how it got there, so that between visits, it's working with it. And that's good. So that way your best times are off my table, not just on my table. As much as we love you all, we'd like you to go home at some point rather than just live like in here. And especially always require me to be some kind of savior to fix you, as opposed to realizing greatest doctors inside of you. That same system that, organizes those 70 to 100 trillion cells, he or she's been with you since the dawn. You were two cells at one point, mama cell and papa cell. They came together, they became one. That one then started dividing. That one became 2, became 4, became 8, became 16, became 32, became 64, became math. Kept growing and growing and growing. And all of it was just a little ball of little squiggly cells. And then one organ started first. It wasn't the heart. Yeah. No.
Brain.
Spinal cord.
Uh-uh.
Spinal cord, the organ that responds to stress. Started as a streak, became a groove, became the notochord, became the spinal cord. Now the heart kicked in very shortly afterwards and it finishes sooner. It's less complicated. But the brain began at 18 days. That little streak develops at that point, and then the rest develops around. Something in you smart. That same brain then helped to organize everything else throughout the rest of your life. So you could actually develop well in the womb, that you could find your way out of the womb, that you could navigate the family that you were given to, in the country that you were given to, in the culture and the world that you're in, and able to not only navigate that, but to live and make an impact, to touch people, and to ensure that your life has made meaning. Along the way, some shit happened. Fair enough. That system got a little garbled up. That's all right. You ain't broke, you're just stuck. Because that same system, it's smart. It can learn. It can unlearn the stuff that got it stuck and can find a better way forward. That's how we do things. That's also my fundamental belief. That we're not the only kind of care that delivers that. I just happen to like the way we do this because of the results that I've seen taking care of people. And at the end of the day, I hope that you're starting to like those too from your experience. Now, if you haven't already experienced us, if you've been hearing some of this and you're like, okay, but would this work for me? Good news. A consult with us is always free. So no harm, no foul. You can come in and talk to us and see, okay, this is what I want to do. Like, can they serve me? Can they support me? Now, if we can, we will. The reason we have so many good reviews is we only take care of the people who we can help. And the rest of them we refer to other places. It's not my fault there's so many people who have brains drinking from a fire hose of stress these days. But with that, the examination that follows, that part, if you're here tonight, whether it's on the Zoom, which you can then text the front, or do we have a system for how they're going to reach us?
Text the front.
Cool. Texting our front office. So if you type in the chat what the number is for them to text tonight, or if you're in here and you're like, okay, I'm curious, I'd like to see if I could actually like go forward. An examination is normally $250 in our office. For anyone who's actually listened to this tonight, congratulations, you've learned something. So you'd be making an informed choice. I believe in informed consent. And I love it when people have actually exposed something, they've learned something from it. They're like, okay, that's actually what I'd like to go for. So we'll give you a discount off the exam if you choose to sign up tonight for it. What was the discount we're offering?
$100.
Okay, it would be $150 off of the usual cost. Normally it's $250. Tonight it would be $100. So if you talk to Carrie on the way out, you get that for $100. If you call her tomorrow, you will get it for $250. It's just one of those. We want to be fair to the people who call us up tomorrow because we get a lot of phone calls each day. And so that way we've put aside some spaces for people who are here tonight. Otherwise, we'd start offering them to those people too. Otherwise, I hope that you learned something tonight. I know it was a little intense, but let's be honest, we've been a little off track. And so sometimes pain's smart. Sometimes we need that little moment of, oh shit. Especially if it gets you to start thinking about folks who really should have been here tonight and could have benefited from hearing some of this. And so with that, Carrie can tell you when the next one of these is. You can invite them there. Or if you're already inspired and you're like, no, I want to just get them that same thing that we're offering for any new human tonight. If you go up and like talk to Carrie, she can get something penciled in for them tonight. Sometimes you got to carry in the ones you love. That said, they still get to make their own free choice, but you can put them in a place to make a better choice. So with that, thanks for showing up on a rainy Thursday night in January. And by the way, it's my sister's birthday.
Aww.
We should all call her up and sing happy birthday, but she probably won't pick up. But we'll send happy birthday to her anyway. All right, folks. So again, talk to Carrie on the way out if you were interested in like taking anything further, or if you had someone who you love who you want to hook up.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.